My name is Mohammed Ali Bile. I'm currently the Director General of the Somaliland Presidency and working with the President, and I live here in Hargeisa, Somaliland. It was a Friday, July 17, 1989. We were praying, doing a Friday prayers at noon in Sheikh Ali Sufi Mosque. By the time the prayers finished and we came out of the mosque, we found so many army surrounding the mosque, and then there was a clash between the army and people who were praying in the mosque. The army were shooting at the people, and the people were throwing shoes at the army. The army came to our house, and they took me and the other guy, the owner of the house, Hassan Odawa, and they took us to the Republican Army compound, which is outside, it's outskirts. They call the Division 77 of the Somali Army, and we were there until midnight. And I remember in my truck there were about 5-6 people I knew, and one was Abubakar Muhammad Abubakar. He passed away now. He was from London. He was born there. He grew up there. One of them is Adam Manifesto. Now he lives in Bristol. One of them was Dr. Hared. I knew him. He was in Mogadishu. So we were all taken there, and the soldiers want to separate us, because the trucks, although many of us were from northerners, from Somaliland, but still they wanted to separate people from Somaliland from others so that they can kill us. But somehow it took time to separate us, and then rain came, and then the whole operation was aborted, and then we were all taken to Danane camp, which is at the beach of Jazeera. And I remember the commander of the Danane camp that time his name was Colonel Abdurazak Fadao. And when we were taken there, by 10 o'clock in the morning, all of them we were shaved, we were beaten, we were running around, and soldiers were harassing us. That truck, all the people in that truck were moved to the beach, and they were executed. There were 48 people, and all of them were killed. So the rumors came around. So I don't know what the plan was, but there was always a fear in our group that they will separate us and they will kill some of us. But once that information that 48 people were already killed and the information was spread around town, then I think the operation was aborted. We spent there a few days in Danane camp, and we were released later through some mediators which were connected to the government. Of course, our relatives were never allowed to come to the camp because it was outside the town and it was heavily guarded. So basically that was what happened, and the 48 people that were killed, I know a number of them. I know Professor Saeed Gurey, who was a good friend of mine. I know Chama, who was working with Oxfam Britain, who was that time there. I know Abdurazak Arab Sagir from Bur'o, and almost all of them, Those people who were killed because they belong to certain tribe and they came from Somaliland. They have nothing else they have done. I forgot his name, but I knew he lived in Kuwait last time I knew him. And I think his name was Umar. And he's the one who told the story. Otherwise, because they brought bulldozers and they buried all the... But this guy, he just lied down, behaving like he's killed. And by the time the army left the place, and before the bulldozers arrived, he went to the beach and take shower and went back to Mogadishu by foot. So he's the one who spread the news. But otherwise, even nobody would have known if such incident happened. There was calculated prosecution against people who came from Somaliland in general, or basically people who were Isaaqs. Basically because there was a fight between SNM and the government in Somaliland areas. But those of us who were living in Mogadishu had nothing to do with that. We just happened to be in Mogadishu because we were part of the Somali system. So definitely there was a prosecution, people were expelled from their jobs, many people were demoted, some of the senior officers of the government were never given a role to play, many people were arrested, some of them were even put on life sentences. Senior officers and ministers who were the role models of the people from Somaliland originally were all in prison, from Omar Arte to Ismail Ala Bokor to so many of those people, to other professors. Exclusively, basically, it was because they belonged to the wrong tribe. But I think, when I think about this incident, first, we were lucky that we survived. But also what I think is how a bad government can really humiliate its people, and how when the government, when you don't use justice and human rights in your governance, how you can as a part of your community can be so disadvantaged with the other government. But I feel like such a thing should never happen, not only to Somalilanders, not only to Somalis, but to any human being in this world. Every family was affected because that's what they wanted. So they used this incident as a pretext to persecute certain tribes, which was mainly people from Somaliland. So the government was out to crush, not only for those who were armed, who were fighting in Somaliland, but those of us who were civilians, who were part of the government, who lived in Mogadishu, who were unarmed, and who were part of the society of the Somalis. So basically it was really, all of us knew that despite all these incidents were created by all Somalis, we will be prosecuted exclusively because of where we came from. I believe there's a pressure on Somaliland to engage negotiations with Somalia. But I believe Somalia is not ready to engage negotiation and dialogue with Somaliland for two reasons. Any dialogue and negotiations should have some sort of a leveled platform so that people can talk. So Somalia, number one, is not ready to investigate, to do something about all the human rights abuses that have been done against Somalilanders in the past. For example, many of those soldiers who killed people in Jazeera beach are still around. Some of those who were responsible in the destruction of the cities of Hargeisa, Borama, and Bur'o in 1988 are even part and parcel of the government. And some of them even are nominated to be part of the negotiations. So basically, it shows you that Somalia is basically telling Somaliland, we don't want to negotiate and go away. But then the second thing, even the president of Somalia 3-4 days ago was telling the militants in Somalia, instead of fighting in Somalia, they have to go to neighboring countries and fight, which he officially said on a camera.
waxaa la jooga ajnabigaasna iyagu naftigoodu dalalkoodii waxay usoo diideen dhibaatada iyo burburka iyo dhimashada usoo diideen halkaana yimaadeen kuweenina axmaqiyay noqdeen ma aadayaan meelaha kuwaan macnaha isma dhaafayaan oo isdhaaf ma ah hadduu kan kaa soo diray kan hadduu dalkiisa aado waxba ma lahaateenba oo nin walba dalka maaha dal kale soo qarxinayo laakiin waxaa lagu ballamay kan in la qarxiyo oo la dhibaateeyo oo la laayo shacabkiisa marka macnaheedu kuweena doqo ma ah marka kuweena doqo ma ah waxaa loo soo diray hooyooyinkood waxaa loo soo diray walaalahood waxaa loo soo diray dadkoodii inay soo laayaan kuwa la joogana waa kala soo fogaadeen dhibkaas meelahoodii iyo dagaalkoodii waa kala soo fogaadeen.
For Somaliland and Somalia to talk, first they have to have a code of conduct and to recognize about the past. Somaliland took its independence from Britain 1960, 26 June, full independence. Somalia took 4 days after its independence from Italy. The two parties came together to form Republic of Somalia. So first, if Somalia want to negotiate for future, first they have to recognize that Somalia consists of two independent entities that have voluntarily joined together. If Somalia doesn't recognize that, I think it will be very difficult. You know, for you to be a partner with somebody, then you must have a share on the partnership. Somalia doesn't recognize Somaliland as a shareholder to the Somalia entity. So they still think that both Somalia and Somaliland belongs to Somalia, which is I think the crux of the problem, why things are not moving now. We don't want to live with the past. Okay, the past is past. We want to always keep it in our minds, but we want to also look in the future. And whether there's Somaliland people in the country and those who live in the diaspora, which is, I think, they play a very strong part in developing this country. I want to tell them that while all these things happened in the past, we want to move forward, and we are moving forward, and Somaliland want to be recognized and a credible entity, partner in the Horn of Africa. So I'm looking forward that all Somalilanders, whether they live inside the country, and those people who are also in the diaspora, whether it's in Europe or America or Asia or the Gulf, to really increase their momentum and invest in the country, both in terms of knowledge and in terms of economy.